All right. It is Ask a Clutter Boss. This is Tuesday, September 17th. Welcome to the internet's best weekly decluttering advice show. I am your host for today. I am Jess Marcy, and I am excited to dive into some questions here. If you are joining me live in the comments, I would love to hear what is your number one struggle right now? What is the number one thing that you are struggling with right now? Good morning, Mitzi. So if you're here live in the comments or even on replay, just throw in there, what is the number one thing that you are struggling with? I only have one submitted question this week. Sometimes we have 10, sometimes we have less. So I will go through that question, but then I'm going to talk about the biggest things that you're struggling with. So do me a favor right now in the comments, if you know how to get there. I know it's a little confusing on YouTube Live, especially if you're on a phone or something, to find the comments. If you can find the comments, head over there and let me know what is your number one struggle right now. The question that we have submitted is, what is your best tip for organizing paperwork and important documents? Paperwork and important documents. That is a great question. And okay, were two paper questions. So how to declutter paper clutter and organize paper. It's the same question, basically. How do we deal with paper? Paper is absolutely the most difficult category, I think, because typically we have memorabilia mixed in with our paper. We don't recognize it as memorabilia. A lot of our paper has an emotional pull. So, okay, here's the deal with paper. Every single sheet of paper that we have in our house represents a transaction. It's not always a financial transaction. It could be a transaction of our time. It could just be a transaction of our emotions, right? So every sheet of paper is transactional. And when we go to declutter paper, we basically have to relive those transactions with every single sheet of paper. So if you have a stack of paper, which maybe is only this big, but there's like 60 sheets of paper in there, that's 60 transactional things that you need to relive and redecide. Like, should I keep this? Should I toss this? Why do I have this? You have to kind of walk down that whole memory lane. Like, even if you're looking at a receipt, once you go to the grocery store and you get a receipt, and you choose to bring that receipt home, not I throw out my receipts at the grocery store, but most people do not do that. You choose to bring the receipt home. What are you going to do when you find that receipt? You're going to look at it. You're going to look at the prices. You're going to relive the experience of going shopping and paying for these items. You don't need to relive these experiences. It is okay to just toss paper. If there is no chance that you are going to return something, why are you hanging on to the receipt? Why are you forcing yourself to live that again? Our lives are so complicated and so busy. We have never had busier lives than we do now, period. Straight up, that is the truth. Our lives have never been more complicated than they are now for a variety of reasons. We have technology. We have with technology, we have access to so much information. It's information overload on a regular basis. It's hard to even know what is the right food to eat or what is the best exercise to do. We have so much information. We're constantly filtering information, and then we're keeping things like receipts that we don't need to relive this. We can just be okay with the fact that we went to the grocery store, bought groceries, brought them home, and that's it. Just let it go. We don't have time for all of this reliving these transactions. So my number one piece of advice with paper is throw out as much as humanly possible. You don't need to keep all of this paper. The more that I work with people, the more that I talk to different experts, the more I am convinced, the more in my own life, I keep almost no paper. We don't need to have all this paper. We have backups of backups of backups of anything that is important electronically. And worst case scenario, you need to make a couple of phone calls to get a sheet of paper. It's like, it saves you so much time to just get rid of paper. And then if you miss something or you need something, it's a little bit of time to get it back. Now it's a little bit of annoying time, but still, that's, I don't think it's worth it to keep all the paper. Now, There are a couple of categories of paper that you do need to hang on to. It's not like you can go to zero paper. You need to have things like your marriage license, your passport, that sort of stuff. So there's like, those are permanent records that you need to keep. And then you need to have some things for a less amount of time, a semi-permanent amount of time. So you have permanent records, you have semi-permanent records, and then you have really like things that you need for a very short amount of time, like a week or a month or maybe a few months. And that's how I organize my paper, is by how long I need to keep it. So if I need to keep paper forever, it has a permanent storage situation in my house. Everybody knows where it is. If I take something out, it goes right back in there. If my kids take out something, it goes right back in there. My daughter needed to get her working papers recently, so she needed proof of I don't know actually what she needed, probably like her birth certificate or whatever. But as soon as she took it out, I was like, the number one thing is when you come home with that, it needs to go immediately right back into here, because that is organization, is putting stuff away. We tend to think that organization is something a little bit different, but maintenance and organization, put stuff away. So that's permanent paper. And then my semi-permanent paper, stuff that I don't need to keep forever, that goes into another bin. And so it's just one small bin of stuff. And if I need a sheet of paper that I know is something in that semi-permanent situation, I can just like house stuff, for example, my car stuff I need to keep until I sell my car. It's semi-permanent. I know it's like based on how long I need to keep it. And then there is a pile of stuff that I need for a short period of time. I need to respond to something. I need to pay a bill. That goes into another area. And I go through that pretty quickly or pretty frequently, because I have to, it's actionable things, right? So when I'm taking action on one thing, I want to see all of the other things I need to take action on. I do not use file folders. I do not have a filing cabinet at all. I hate filing cabinets. They're horrible. So that's, you have to kind of work yourself to the point of less paper, and then try very hard as much as you can to reduce the amount of paper coming into your house. Paper should stop at the store. Don't bring paper home. And you can always take a picture if you need to. And a picture is way easier to store than a sheet of paper. It doesn't get piled up on your counter. All right, hold on. There's a lot in the comments here, so I'm going to just scroll over here and see. Memorabilia is my biggest struggle. Okay. My problem is I research a lot and I like to keep information to go back to, trying to organize them or put them into digital files. I have articles that are great articles that I want to remember. So my question is, how often do you go back and look at those files? I am not opposed to keeping digital files, articles, things like that. The key to that is that you need to have a system that you use pretty religiously. So there's not one best way to organize digital files like articles and things like that. The best way to do it is something that you are going to do very consistently. So the best piece of technology is the one that you actually use. There's so many apps and programs on computers that will help you organize stuff, but if you don't use them consistently, they're totally worthless. So find something, and it could just be your notes app. It could be something super simple. Find something and commit to using it. And that's the best way to organize that like information. I also would say be really ruthless with yourself. If there's only a small chance that you're going to go back and read the article again, you probably don't need to go through the trouble of actually saving it. If there's a detail about the article that you can remember, you can always Google it and find it again. When it comes to technology, searchability matters more than anything else. So if you have an organizing system for your digital files, make sure you can search through it. Make sure there is a search feature. And then, of course, Google works great. If you remember that you read something and you know a couple of details, you can probably find it pretty quickly without having to here, let's think about it this way. If you can search the internet and find the article in 10 seconds or less, is that faster than you searching through your own saved files to find the article. Like, which one is faster? If searching the internet is faster, you don't need to save the stuff. And when it comes to information, I think there is a little bit of this where we just need to accept that we're never going to have all of the information that we need and be really confident that I'm going to make a decision and that's it. Like, I'm going to make a decision. I'm going to spend X amount of time researching it. And after that amount of time, I'm making my decision and I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole of all the information, because you could spend hours, days reading reviews, hearing other people's opinions, researching whatever you're researching, the new appliance that you're buying or the new car that you're buying or the jacket that you want for your kid. And at the end of the day, half of those reviews are not true. People mostly post negative things. So you have to just give yourself a set amount of time. Like, I'm going to spend this amount of time doing this, and that is it. Then I'm going to make a decision. And I'm going to be okay with my decision. I'm going to confidently know that I put a certain amount of time into figuring it out. And that's the amount of time that I can devote to this right now. Okay, my number one struggle is getting rid of my mom's stuff after her passing. I'm so sorry to hear about your mom passing. I feel like I need to honor her stuff by disposing of it properly, and it's hard to decide what to do with it. It's really, really tricky. I will say, when it comes to letting go of stuff that when we're grieving the passing of the person, give yourself a little bit of time if possible, because over time, our attachment to the things lessens a little bit. The fact that you want to honor your mom by disposing of her stuff properly, I think says everything. You're going to do the best that you can do, knowing that right now, some stuff is out of your control. There's so much stuff in the world today that just making an effort to dispose of her stuff in a way that honors her memory is actually enough. It's so impossible to properly dispose of absolutely everything. And once it leaves your possession, you really don't know what's going to happen to it. So I think having your heart and your soul in the right place is 100% good enough. You're making an effort to do this in a way that honors her memory, and that is amazing. And if you can't do it perfectly, that's because that's an impossible task. So just, I want to leave you with that, and just making the effort is absolutely a great way to honor the memory. All right, let's see. We are at 11. So, Wendy, this is Ask a Clutter Boss. It's a weekly advice show that we do live. The call that is at 1 p.m. today, that's the boot camp call. So that's on Zoom. It's different from this. So you have not missed that. It is at 1 p.m. Eastern. This is our weekly decluttering advice show, Ask a Clutter Boss. So two different things, but you get both today. It's a double whammy day. If I don't file, how am I storing groups of paper? I use those plastic, they're plastic containers, like, I don't even know what you would call them. Like, if you go to Staples, they have document holders that are plastic. So I have document holders. I have 3 or 4 of them. And I just put my permanent stuff in one, semi-permanent stuff in another. And then really the stuff that needs to take action on, that is just in a letterbox in my kitchen. And it's a file that gets gone through really, really frequently. So, let's see. Good morning. I have a problem with sentimental items. Yes, it's common. It's a common thing. If you have a problem with sentimental items, 100% do not start your decluttering there. Start with the easier stuff, the low-hanging fruits. Go for stuff that you don't have an emotional attachment to. Decluttering is decision-making, and decision-making is something that you can strengthen. So it's like a muscle. You can actually get better at decision-making the more that you practice it. So the more you practice decluttering and making those decisions, the easier the harder decisions get. So the easier it gets to make decisions on sentimental items. But really, I would just go and find the stuff that you can make an easy decision on. And if it's a maybe, that's just a keep. So just have like toss donate, like I'm keeping it or I'm not keeping it. Those are your two categories. The maybes are really, really tricky. And when you have a lot of maybes, you're just kind of setting yourself up for more. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. We want to find the things I can let go of pretty confidently. Let them go. Like actually remove them from your life. Like don't keep them in a bag in your car for the next 6 months. Move the stuff out that you have chosen to declutter and live with those decisions for a little while. You're probably going to find that you don't miss anything and you don't regret anything. And when you have that feedback, you have more confidence to go to the slightly harder stuff. And that's how decluttering works. It takes some time. It's not overnight, but starting with sentimental or overly focusing on sentimental stuff is really complicated. So give yourself some wins first. And within the sentimental stuff, if that's your last category, you have nothing left but sentimental stuff, go slowly and just see if there's one or two things that you feel less attached to. If you look at a whole collection of sentimental items that all relate to the same thing, is there one or two things that you feel like it doesn't make a difference if you have this or not? Challenge yourself. Just be curious. Like, maybe there is. Practice, practice, practice with decision making. Absolutely, absolutely. All right. Thank you so much for being here live. It was so nice to chat, and just know you are not alone with your struggles, for sure, not alone. If you have not joined boot camp, it's 5 days. We started yesterday. As we were talking about, our call today is at 1 p.m. Eastern. There's still time to get in there. It's a great way to get all of your questions answered in depth. We have Q&A every single day this week. So for sure, if you are struggling, get yourself into boot camp. It's such an incredible week, and we're off to a really, really good start. All right. Sending you all lots of love and support. You got this. Go declutter something. Ride the wave of motivation from listening to this. Go declutter something. And I will see you in boot camp or in our It's All Clutter Facebook group. Bye for now.